I did it! And I did it so good. Oh my goodness. I have not spoken to you. It's now Tuesday. And I can't tell you, I've been so unbelievably overwhelmed. I literally have not had the brain capacity to do this, to talk about it, to film it, to do anything. Like, I was ignoring everybody on WhatsApp, on Instagram. I've just never felt so overwhelmed with every single emotion under the sun that I just couldn't do anything. So I'm gonna talk you through it because I need to tell you everything about it. But even yesterday I thought to myself, like, it's fine, I'll talk you through it on Monday. And yesterday, it's so dramatic, I just couldn't stop crying. And I am gonna sit for this entire part of the video with my medal on because I'm so proud of myself. But I've got my coffee. I know that I'm going to talk for ages, so let's get into it. I'm going to start from, I know that the last time I spoke to you, I think the last time I actually filmed was when I was getting ready on Sunday morning, and even then, like, I managed to somehow film that morning. Like, I was making a TikTok, I was filming stuff for this, and then as soon as we got there I was just blank. Like, I did not do any filming. So let's do a little play-by-play. So got up at 6 on Sunday morning, as after I'd like barely slept realistically, because I was just so excited and nervous. Had 100 grams of oats. That was actually a challenge to eat 100 grams. That was a lot, but we got it in. Great fuel. Had a coffee, had my daily dose, got myself ready, was having an absolute meltdown because I realised I was supposed to have ironed on my letters. I don't know why I didn't think that through, but I was supposed to iron on my letters and I hadn't done that. So me and Jenna tried, well, Jenna, I take no credit, got the double-sided tape out and tried to stick them on, which worked for the beginning, but it was raining, and so they literally didn't even last the first kilometre, but that's fine. I got the photos with Ree on it. I was a bit gutted that people couldn't shout my name, but that is literally my own fault, and it was amazing regardless. Anyway, had my breakfast, got myself ready, managed to film enough to make a TikTok, which I do not know how. With the, like, I can't tell you, I've never experienced anything like it. I just had no room in my brain for any thoughts. Like, that's all I can explain. Like, all I was thinking about was marathon. I literally couldn't reply to anybody. Like, I didn't reply to anybody on WhatsApp or on Instagram or on TikTok from like Saturday at like 4 PM. I just couldn't do it. I didn't have it in me. I couldn't process like sentences, which sounds really annoying, but like, this was such a massive deal for me. So anyway, managed to film a TikTok, and then my dad dropped us off at Blackheath because all the trains were a nightmare, and my brother and sister came with me to the start point. So we went to Blackheath, we walked through Greenwich, went to the start point, and there's just so many people, and already like I was just feeling so overwhelmed, like a good overwhelmed, not a bad overwhelmed at all. And like, we were walking over there, it wasn't raining at this point, it was sunny, and I was like trying so hard to like not get my hopes up, because I was like, it's going to rain, it's literally guaranteed to rain. Met Office says it, BBC says it's going to rain, and it did. That's fine. Got to the start point, incredible atmosphere, and I left them, obviously they couldn't come into the assembly point. I got there like an hour before I was supposed to start, so my start time was 10:34. I got to the assembly point at 9:30, and so I obviously left my bag and my hoodie with Jenna, left my stuff with her. So I went in with just my little top, my little black crop top, my sweaty Betty shorts, and like that was it, that was all I had. And then as soon as I got in there, I queued for the toilet, which were rank, but there were plenty of them, so I'm not going to complain. And then I was like, right, I have an hour to kill now on my own. I didn't want to waste my phone battery. There was also no internet at all in the assembly point, and I was freezing because then it started raining, and I was like, right, I don't want to start warming up yet, and I also don't want to expend too much energy trying to keep myself warm, obviously, because I was about to run a marathon. So I was just like stood there like half lunging, like trying to keep warm. Bumped into a couple of people, a couple of girls came up to me, which was really nice, and just really weird to me still that people watch my TikToks, which is just strange. And then I saw Molly, and I was like, oh my god, and I was so happy to see her, because I was honestly like, I don't know what to do with myself. I was so in my head about running this marathon. Then I had an hour on my own in the cold, and Molly is the girl who I've done all of my pretty much all of my long training runs with, and we only became friends through running the marathon. I'm so grateful to have met her. She's honestly got me through all of the training, and she is incredible, and she smashed the marathon as well. But I saw her and I was so happy to see a friendly face and talk to her, and yeah, it was just so nice. So I queued up for the toilet again with her, just because something to do for kill time. Was catching up with her, we got a little photo, and then she was starting like 10 minutes after me, so I went over to my wave in the end. And as I was going over there, I think I went over there at like 10, so I'd only really been half an hour and being quite dramatic, but that's quite a long time to stand on your own when you're about to run a marathon. Like, that's intense. and this lovely girl came up to me and gave me a rain poncho, and I literally could have cried because I was so cold and soggy already, and I was like, I know that I'm just going to be soggy for the next like 5 hours because I'm going to go and run in this rain, but I didn't want to stand still, and she gave me this rain poncho and I was so grateful. And then I went into my little assembly point. They give you a little brief bit and then you walk down to the start line, and I can't even explain how I felt. Like, I keep saying overwhelmed, but that's the only thing I can say. Like, I was just so overwhelmed with like excitement and nerves, and like it's so daunting. But started and I was like, right, just go, don't look at your watch for the first 5. Everyone says just enjoy it. And it was raining, and like obviously the crowds at the beginning were quite amazing as well, even though there weren't as many as I thought they were going to be for the first 5 kilometers. But I'm glad that they weren't at the first 5 and they were at the last 5, you know what I mean? So did my first 5 actually quite quick, which always happens when I don't look at my watch, which I actually think I should have paced myself a little bit better, but I don't care, like it's fine. I'm so proud. Having the best time, was just like soaking it all in. Didn't have my headphones in at the beginning. Lost my re in the first kilometre, and I was like, you know what, it is what it is, it's gone. I wasn't going to try and save it. So I was running with just one AirPod in, and I turned off the noise cancellation like thing in settings, so I could still hear all of the crowds, but I still had like a beat, which is what I just always need. And yeah, so was just starting running, and I was just having a great time. And then I had planned out, so I was going to take a gel, one of the Morton gels, every 6k, or about every half an hour was my plan. Every half an hour, 45 minutes. But like, don't let my energy, I wasn't going to let my energy levels drop. I was just going to keep taking them consistently. Every time there was a water bottle station, I told myself I was going to take one, have 3 sips, because I was reading this thing about how much dehydration can affect your performance, and I was just getting in my head about it. This is why I get overwhelmed as well, because I'm such a knowledge person that I will go and do all of the research and then freak myself the fuck out. But anyway, so every time there was a Buxton station, I got a little water and I just sipped a few. Made some friends along the way, like I was chatting to people, but as soon as I put my phone away, when we got to the start line, I did not touch it. I did not get it out once, the whole run. I was just, and I'm so glad, like I don't even regret, like I didn't film anything for this. I didn't take this with me, obviously, this was with Jenna. I didn't film anything myself while I was running, and I'm so glad I didn't, because I was so in the moment. Like, I didn't get my phone out, I wasn't looking at anything, I wasn't even changing the songs, I don't even remember what music was playing. I was just so in it. Like completely, and I'm so glad I let myself do that. But at 12k, my hip went. And like, it was already like, I get this feeling where obviously like I had to take a week off 2 weeks ago, and I was a bit like panicking about not being able to run it. And I was like, it's literally 12k, like I've got 30 more kilometers to run, and it just starts to feel really loose, and I could just really feel the joint rubbing, and I was like, I don't know what to do. So I stopped at the next place. There was the St John's ambulance people, because I was like, you know what, if your hip's already hurting, you're not gonna get like a crazy time, you're not gonna be able to maintain this 5:30 pace. It's not gonna happen, and that's absolutely fine, because realistically, after my hip hurt, anything sub 5 hours, I was gonna cry with pride. And if I could run the whole thing, I was gonna be over the moon. Like, even crossing the finish line to me was insane. So I stopped at the ambulance people, and they were like, okay, if you're dead set on running it, use this ibuprofen gel. They just gave me some ibuprofen gel, I rubbed it on, and I cracked on. Again, taking my gels every 6 minutes. A couple of girls stopped me on the run as well, and they were like, oh my god, your TikToks have like kept me going in marathon training. And I was like, I'm gonna cry. It was just so emotional. Like, I cried twice. I cried when I was crossing Tower Bridge, and that's about the half marathon mark. So between, it was actually like, so I saw Jenna and Jacob, my brother and sister, at, I don't even remember what mile it was. It was maybe like, it was relatively early on. I feel like it was maybe at like 10 or 12k. It was before my hip went, so it must have been before 12. But I saw them, and then I didn't see anyone until like gone 30k. And it had been like 2 hours, and I was losing the will to live. But I crossed, I'm getting way ahead of myself. I crossed Tower Bridge, and that atmosphere is fucking immense. Like, I've never known anything like it. I was so emotional, like it literally like swelled, which sounds really dramatic again, but like, oh my goodness, it was like overpowering. I didn't know what to do with myself. Everyone is cheering, and it's just like so iconic as well. And that was like a proper like, I'm running the London Marathon moment. I was like, pinch me, I cannot believe I'm doing this. Got across there, and then you go like right down towards Canary Wharf and all of that part of it. And that was as soon as like from Tower Bridge, you go to Tower Bridge and then you go right for like fucking ages, and then you come back and you go past Tower Bridge again. Between those Tower Bridge points were the mentally most difficult like miles time I've ever experienced in a run, because my hip was hurting, and now I know. So I think the problem with my hip is all linked to my IT band and my knee, because my knee played up and this foot played up. It's all on my right side during training, and I think it's all linked. I think it's just the way I run, and then as soon as I tried to compensate to look after my hip, which is what I was doing in this marathon, I then was putting too much pressure on my knee, which then started to hurt. So then I stopped at the ambulance people again and got some ibuprofen gel for my knee, and it was all just a bit like, and my pace was slowing, but I really didn't care about pace at this point. I was just lapping it all up. I was like, if I can run it all, I don't care. If I can keep going one foot in front of the other, I'm absolutely fine. But literally from when I went past because when you go right past Tower Bridge for the first time, there's people running back who have already done this massive slog, and they're like on their last like 10 miles, or the last 5 miles maybe. They're not loving life, they're obviously dead, but it's so hard to watch them when they're so far ahead of you. But obviously made it through, plodding along, met another couple of girls in that part, but that part was so hard because a couple of my friends were planning to be in that area so that they'd get to see me twice, because you go past the same road twice, but they were all obviously on the other side of the road waiting for me on the way back. So I'd mentally prepared to see people, to get that boost, to get that endorphin, then like they weren't there, which isn't their fault at all. But I was like, it was just a bit like, oh, I haven't seen anybody in so long. Then every corner I turned, I was looking for people and I wasn't seeing them. And then it got to the point where that was the quietest part of the race for me. Like as soon as you went past Canary Wharf into like the residential part, there weren't as many people about. And it was just more like, and it's quite hilly. Like, I know that it's not hills, like they're not like steep hills, but it's not that flat. There's quite a lot of hills and you're going through tunnels and stuff, and I just found it really soul destroying, to be honest. That's really dramatic again. Not in a way that I was hating it, because it was the London Marathon, and then whenever you did see the crowd, like it did pick you back up. Whenever I had a pinch me moment, I was like back in that zone. But oh my goodness, was it hard. And this was between like the half marathon and the 30k mark, which with all of the TikToks and the YouTubes and everything I watched pre-running a marathon, everyone said that from 21k, from when you hit halfway to getting to 30k, is known as like no man's land. Like, because when the whole first half, you're like, I just need to get halfway, then you're on the home straight, then you're on your way back, and then when you get to like 30k, you're like, oh well, basically the last 10. So they're like good markers, but between 20 and 30 is just so mentally challenging for me anyway. Like I really struggled, and that's when I was like, to be fair, my knee and my hip stopped hurting and my knee took over, but I was just like struggling so much. So I made sure to like make sure I got my gels in, had some water, turn my music up a little bit. That part was hard. So yeah, 21 to 30k was hard, but I also saw a couple of people that I knew like running it, like knew of, like, you know, like acquaintances, and I was like, oh look, it's them. And then the second time I stopped to get some ibuprofen gel for my knee from the ambulance people, I was stood there rubbing it on with them on the side, and this man ran past me carrying a fridge, trying to break a Guinness World Record, and I thought, Rihanna, get a grip. There's a man carrying a fridge and he's running the marathon and he's just overtaken you. Obviously I don't know what wave he started in, but it was just a little boost, and it was also like a, Rihanna, people would kill to be here. I know your knee hurts, but let's go. So obviously made it, and then when I got back past the point where I was being the smug one, running back past Tower Bridge, and I was like, yes, I've done the hard bit. That's when I started seeing everybody, and I didn't know when I was going to see them now, because I'd done it on my watch so that I'd allowed my friend Chloe, Tilly and my sister Jenna, all of their messages were allowed through, even though I'd put the rest of it on Do Not Disturb, so I kind of knew where they were. But I knew where my sister was, but I didn't know where anybody else was, and I was running down this one point, and I was so close to the side of the road, I was right close to people, and I saw Tilly. And if you've watched my TikTok, we both literally lose it. Like, I scream. I hadn't seen anybody for nearly 2 hours, and I like fucking gallop. Like, I just got so excited to see someone I knew, and I panicked. I didn't know what to do, so I didn't even stop and hug her. I just carried on running. The adrenaline got me going, and I just went. But oh my goodness, when you see people you know and they're cheering you on, like Tilly was like basically crying, and I watched that video back and it's just us being so dramatic. And then apparently when I ran past, the man was like, oh, I want a greeting like that, because I was so happy to see her, and I'm so grateful for everybody who came and supported me and supported me throughout this entire marathon. But like moments like that, like it's even got me, like I feel emotional now because I was so proud and she was so proud, and it's just a lot. I can't cry again. I spent all of yesterday crying. This is why I'm filming it today. And then like literally maybe like 10 minutes down the road, my other friend Chloe was up on like the balcony bit, and I saw her and all of her family and her boyfriend's family, and I was just like, and it's just so exciting when you see people you know, and it's just that boost that you need to keep on going. So I saw them, and then even again like 10 minutes down the road after that was my other friends Grace and Sophie, and then 10 minutes down the road after that was my family again, and that just like got me to the end, like seeing them all in a row and watching the videos back. I'm not being funny, I don't even look that dead. The training paid off. I'm very impressed with myself, considering I used to look like, Tilly has a couple of videos and I have to dig them out, of me when I used to do 5Ks at the end and I would look like deceased. And there I am at like 38K striding along. I mean, obviously like my knee was hurting, but the ibuprofen gel got me through. And I remember getting to like the bit where you're running along down past like Big Ben when you're so close, and I was like, keep on going, because I was so dead at this point, so dead. And you're so close to the end. And I kept looking, I looked at my watch, well, in that last bit I was looking at it to see what kind of time I was aiming for. And it was like 4:30 was possible, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so close. And I just kept pushing, like kept pushing. I was obviously not running that quick at that point, like I was running like 6:30, which to be honest at that point in the race I'm pleased with, because that used to be what I would like struggle to run 5K at. That's what's amazing to me, like I ran a marathon at a quicker pace than I used to die trying to run 5K at. Anyway, get there, and oh my goodness, the bit down the mall, bawling my eyes out, so emotional, like just couldn't deal. It's so emotional, it's so immense. Crossed the finish line and I got 4:25.17, which I just think is insane for my first marathon, and considering in like before, like right at the end of 2022 I was still struggling so much. I just have never been like more proud of myself for anything. Like fuck the degree, fuck any job I've ever had, that's my biggest achievement today. This is my most favourite thing I've ever done, it's the thing I'm most proud of, and because I think a lot of it, it's like the kind of growth and the phase of my life that I've been going through while I've been training for this has like, I will always, it's not all down to the marathon, but it's a massive part of it, like with my fat loss phase and with the mindset shift that I've had, and like going self-employed and just the like growing online, and like the community that we've got now and the people I've met and just the life that I've got right now. It just all felt like one big thing coming together, and I did it, and I crossed the finish line, and I crossed the finish line with this massive smile on my face, and I wasn't dead, like I wasn't like about to collapse, like I trained hard enough for it, I did the work. Oh, it was just absolutely incredible. Like I actually can't believe even now that I've done that. My average pace was 6:11 minutes per kilometre, which I just still, like I can't even comprehend, because I was running 5Ks at like a 7-minute pace and dying and like not being able to do it. Honestly, if you've been thinking about doing it, you've just got to do it. Like the most incredible experience of my entire life. And then I walked down the mall, soaked it all in, was talking to people, like massively obviously congratulating people. Everyone was like, you get your little silver cape thing to keep you warm, you get your goodie bag, you get your t-shirt. And then I walked down to like is it Trafalgar Square at the end, and met my family and got my stuff, and obviously like just like realised it all with them, got a couple of photos, and then I hobbled over to the Tube and went to the Oyster Shed, just like opposite London Bridge, and had an Aperol, and oh my goodness, I thought it was going to go straight to my head. I thought I was going to get tipsy in like 2 seconds, but I didn't. But I also think those gels I was taking had like 100 grams of carbs in each, so I know I did run a marathon, but it just, nothing was hitting me. But I was just so emotional when all my friends walked in, when I walked in and all my friends cheered, and they had, like, they bought me flowers and cards, and I don't know why I didn't expect it, but it was just, honestly, so much. So I had quite a few drinks there, got a few, I want to do a marathon every day. You get free drinks, you get, like, hugs from everybody. It's great. That is so not the reason to run the London Marathon, but it's quite a good one. So stayed there for ages. You got a flapjack in your goodie bag, and I absolutely love a flapjack that you get at the end of a run. You always get them at the end of like the run through 10Ks as well, and I honestly think it's one of my favourite parts. Classic me, always wanting to eat. So yeah, we stayed there until like maybe like 7, and like met up with all of the other people. Like I knew quite a few people who were running the London Marathon as well, and they went to the Oyster Shed, so they all smashed it. Everyone I know did absolutely incredible. Just can't believe I did it in 4:25. Insane. Then I went home and I had a quick shower, got changed, freshened myself up a little bit, and then me and Tilly went out to Patrick's, which is just like a shitty Irish bar that's really shitty but always a good night out in the evening. And I thought I was going to want to get really drunk, but where the Aperols didn't even hit me at all, like I was then feeling really dehydrated and just a bit like, I want to go out and I want to celebrate, but I didn't want to, like, you know when you're like forcing drinks down you and I wasn't getting drunk, nothing was happening. So I just had Diet Cokes, which sounds really boring. I don't really care. And I was just dancing, and it was just great vibes, just such a good time. And then had a really good sleep, and then yesterday I woke up on Monday and my knee is like doubled in size. What's better now, had like doubled in size, and it was so swollen it felt like a bruise. No wonder I did like 56,000 steps the day before, and obviously ran a marathon, in case you didn't know. And so I was icing that all day, and I tried to walk into town. I got a coffee with my friend Grace and like debriefed the marathon, which I feel like I really needed. I used the Pure Sport Freeze roll on. I like rubbed this on my hip, my knee, my calves, sometimes my quads if they're a bit tight before I go on the run. It's got CBD in it, and yeah, I mean it's recovery, but I like to put it on before. For the freeze one, because it just has like cooling sensation. I just like it before a run. I did use it quite a bit yesterday as well, and I've used it this morning. But what I normally do after my runs is use I broke the lid, so it's lidless, but the Pure Sport Muscle and Joint Balm. And what I normally do with this is I like scoop it out. I need to get a new one, it's quite empty. Scoop it out, rub it onto like wherever I need, like if I put it on my hip or onto my quad or my calf, get my gua sha, which feels very like lockdown TikTok of me, like rub it in. And this is like an at-home sports massage, so like if I rub this into my calves, sometimes they'll bruise in a good way, like you know when you've got out all of the knots, but this combo, insane. Oops, my battery died, I just had to swap it. Yeah, I think that's it. I think you're all caught up. I am going to do a whole other YouTube video, so I'm going to be uploading every Friday now. So I'm going to film another video in terms of like, I'm going to do one about my marathon journey, and then I'm going to do maybe one like things I learned training for my first marathon, or top tips for a first marathon. I'll do something along the lines of marathon training. So they'll be coming in the next few weeks. I will keep you updated on socials as always, but in the meantime, thank you so much if you've got it this far. I'm sure this is an insanely long video, but you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and if you are interested in coaching / working with me, head to the Re Club. But yeah, you'll find all of my links below. Any questions, let me know in the comments. Anything you want to see from me, let me know in the comments also, or DM me on Instagram and I will get back to you ASAP. But yeah, if you ran the marathon, the biggest congrats, you are incredible. Sending you all loads and loads of love, and I will speak to you very, very soon.